Don't miss any of the action at Oceanside, Chula Vista, Torrey Pines, and many more San Diego schools. Download the free UT Preps app on Google Play or the Apple App Store.
Welcome back into Canyonside Baseball and Softball Academy for our podcast. Tommy, Dave, and Christian with you. We're going to bring you our top 10. We're going to do a little game we call Fair or Foul, and then we're going to talk about some catchers, guys.
My favorite position.
Is your favorite position?
Oh, hell yeah.
As a former pitcher, your favorite position is catcher?
I was also a former catcher.
All right.
I just couldn't hit.
Anyway, guys, we'll start with our top 10. Dave, who do you have as top 10 teams in the county?
All right, number one, I'm going to start with Rancho Bernardo. I'm going to go 2 LCC, 3 Eastlake, 4 Madison. I got Madison a little higher than a lot of teams are seeing this year. I got Cathedral at 5, Poway at 6, Granite Hills at 7, Helix at 8, Christian at 9, and then at 10 I split with Scripps Ranch and Torrey Pines. I'm seeing those teams are really looking solid at the beginning of the year.
Oh, with the safe bet, the split there.
Yeah,
no one can.
I couldn't decide.
So it's a 14-inning game to figure out who's going to win that 10 spot. Christian, what do you think?
Yeah, I really kind of agree top to bottom on that top 10. To me, the early season is just so hard because you really don't know until you look at many of these teams. So you could flip that 10 on its head, and that could be the way that this season ends. I think I'd have a lot more slashes in there. I'd probably throw 15 or 20 teams into my top 10. But I'm just excited that the games are here so we can finally start actually figuring out who's in the top 10.
For me, I'll go from 10 to 1 to build some suspense here. I'm going to go with El Cap at number 10, Tristan Duncan, Mile Emerson, great players. We talked to them. So watch a TV show 2 weeks from today, or tomorrow, excuse me. Madison's my number 9 team, as you talked about.
A little difference there.
A little bit different. Kevin Abel, right-handed pitcher, going to Oregon State. I mean, they're going to have a chance to beat anyone when he's on the mound, I would say. Now, Christian is my number 8 team, not you, but the school. Kyle Stowers, great player, going to Stanford next year. Number 7, I've got Poway. 6, Torrey Pines. 5, Saints. Number 4, I have LCC, which that's probably lower than most people have him. Mickey Moniak, everyone knows who he is, but I think these top 3 teams are going to be really hard to beat. Number 3, I have is Eastlake. That might be a surprise to some people, but they have 3 really, really good pitchers. And as we know, pitching kind of tells a story, and when we get into league play, if you have 3 guys, that's pretty much all you're going to run with anyway. So if you have 3 guys like they do, Trey Brown going to USC, excuse me, my voice is gone. Julian, right-handed pitcher, going to San Diego State, and Ben Ramirez also going to San Diego State. So they have 3 future Division I players on the mound. It's pretty tough to beat. Cathedral, I have at number 2, led by the Hoffman brothers and Preston Price, great pitcher as well. And number 1, I have RB, as I think most people do. Congratulations on being preseason ranked top 25 in the nation by Max Preps. That is difficult to do for anyone.
They've got a big target on their back, though, and it'll be interesting to see if they, top to bottom, have what it takes to defend that target all season long, because a lot of teams don't necessarily want that this early in the season. If you want to be playing your best ball always at the end of the season. A lot of teams struggle sometimes to translate being the conceived best at the early part of the year and actually carry that over to long-term success. So interesting to see if they'll hold that top spot wire to wire all season long. They've got the talent potentially to do it.
Yeah, it's always tough when you're preseason ranked number 1 because you don't have anywhere to go from there. You're just hanging out at thoughts. Play ball. We're moving on to a game. We did this kind of in basketball. We're moving it over to baseball. We're going to call it fair or foul. I'm going to make a statement, and David and Christian are either going to agree with it, fair, or disagree, foul. First statement I'm going to make. David, first question is yours. First statement is yours, excuse me. Preseason tournaments don't mean much.
I'm going to say fair. I'm seeing a lot of high school hitters still kind of getting their swings going at this time of the season. For me, good teams peak at the end of the year. That's when pretty much they're firing on all cylinders. I'm looking for guys, teams like RB and LCC and Eastlake to kind of be the teams that do that because of their pitching, and their depth. So I definitely see teams that maybe are losing games, by 1 or 2 runs now, might be winning those games by 2 or 3 runs later in the season because they're firing on all cylinders. So I'm definitely going to say fair on that one. Christian?
I'm going to go with foul, and not just results are, in the world of baseball, results are no longer just wins, losses. We live in a world of baseball where you can break down every single metric on every single player to a ridiculous degree. What I see in these preseason tournaments is a big opportunity for quality at-bats, for situational improvement. You have a guy who is a sophomore, is a junior, his first year on varsity, getting that first at-bat with 2 outs, getting that first pickoff move thrown toward anything like that. Those are the results that actually I think do help teams play their best ball at the end of the season. If you just completely write off, oh well, we went 1-3 in tournament play, or we got bounced from the Lions early on, anything like that, that's not giving enough credit to what you can potentially be earning as a position player, as a team. So I'm going to say that the results really do matter. You just have to look at them correctly.
And just about real quickly, I would say both. I know that's kind of a cheap answer, but I'd like.
You're the host. You're allowed to say what you want.
I'll do whatever I want here. But I would agree with you in that, yes, early in the season, you're still trying to figure out, looking at the pitches, stuff like that. I know these kids play year round, but it is a little bit different when you get into school play. But at the same time, the thing that matters the most, the CAF playoffs, which is a tournament. So I think you have to get used to playing in a tournament. It's a little bit different than playing during the season. It's kind of more all or nothing than you would have in a regular game. So I'm going to say, can't take too much out of it, but at the same time, it's a good experience for later.
Exactly. Pitchers have a big advantage right now. This is essentially spring training for most of the hitters. Very amped up at the plate, ready to go.
We're trying to add those home run totals early. Don't want to get too far behind.
Play ball.
We're about to talk about catchers. A big part of catching is calling the games. In high school, some coaches maybe don't want to give up that responsibility yet. Christian, you first. All catchers should catch their own game in high school, fair or foul?
I say this is fair. Every catcher should know how to call their own game. They spend enough time with their pitchers. They should know what works. And I understand that some coaches feel that they can provide an edge by sitting there with the scouting reports, really knowing meticulously what position to have their players in, what calls to call. But as a catcher myself, it's not that difficult to know what your own pitcher's strengths and weaknesses are. And to say, okay, it's this situation, I've never seen this guy throw a curveball, let's probably not call a curveball. A lot of this is common sense. Maybe not entirely take the reins off right away, but by midpoint in the season, every catcher in San Diego County should be able to call their own game.
I'm going to say foul.
Okay.
I'm guessing that the majority of guys on my list are calling their own games right now. For the majority of catchers that we have on our list, they're mostly seniors. They have adapted to the position really well, learned to call pitches. But to get there, it takes learning how to read a swing, learning how to, read at bats. So I think that it does take time for the hitters or the catchers to read the hitters and kind of figure that out. So for my younger guys, I'm definitely gonna, like you said, hold back on them calling every game, maybe give them a chance to call a few, see what they did as far as calling pitches certain times, and then we go from there. But definitely my senior guys, I'm wanting that leadership out of them. But if anyone younger, I'm sure I have to teach them to do that for sure.
Well, and where I kind of disagree with this on is I think sometimes coaches don't let kids get that baptism by fire, if you will. A lot of the mistakes that you learn as a catcher sometimes is watching that ball fly out to right center and hit off the wall and go, oh, I got lazy there and called my 4th straight fastball, or oh, I let my pitcher hang a changeup, something like that. And you can sit in an academic environment with a catcher and tell him at practice, this is the situation, that is the situation, call this, call that. But part of what I think is the best way to learn that is just getting out there and getting your hands dirty and making those calls yourselves and learning. And a lot of that should be happening early on in these tournaments that we're talking about, because these results, win-loss, don't necessarily entirely matter.
Exactly.
And I'm going to be annoying and stand on the fence again. I'm sorry. Hey,
that's what you're here for.
I'll agree with you, Dave. I think the younger kids maybe don't know how to do it yet. And, yeah, maybe he's learning, but you don't want to mess up, maybe a senior's pitching season. But Christian, I'll agree with you on this. Pesky people like me would sit and watch Coach single on the signs, and I think any chance you have.
Oh, you're stealing signs, are you?
All the time.
Oh my goodness.
Nothing wrong with that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I think any opportunity you give the other team to have an edge like that, I think it's kind of I'd just be too scared to do it, especially something as important as pitch selection. So That's where I stand on the fence. So we just talked about catchers calling games. Let's talk about the actual catchers. We're going to highlight the best catchers in San Diego. So some of the guys that we have our eyes on.
First catcher that is on my list, Miles Emerson, goes to El Capitan, obviously, said him earlier. We got these guys ranked in the top 10 on most lists. They are definitely one of my notable guys. He was the player of the year in Grossmont Valley League last year, committed to Cal Poly. Hit 400 as a junior. I should see the same thing out of him again this year. I'll give you one more guy, Daniel Cope, Mount Carmel, Cal State Fullerton commit. What I hear, this guy can throw anyone out. Doesn't matter how fast.
That's what I love in a catcher. I'll let you hit below the Mendoza line, but if you can throw everybody out,
exactly.
Sounds like you're
starting
talking.
And this guy can hit too. He had 389 last year with a 494 on base percentage, which is, talk about plate discipline. That's pretty amazing for a high school player. Who you guys got?
Christian, let you go next.
my big shout out goes to Ryan Orr at La Costa Canyon. We've talked about them already in the show being a top 5, top 10 team, and a big part of that is going to be their backstop. The kid's he's going to go to San Diego State, so he's got coaches thinking there's talent. The talent's already there. The kid can hit for average. He's great on defense. He's one of those all-around, well-rounded players who he's going to have his hands in both sides of LCC winning. He's going to be important defensively. He's going to be important hitting.
My catcher, though, I definitely want to talk about, is Hayden Hastings at Francis Parker. Kid is a very good athlete. I mean, I forget what showcase he went to, but he was like the fastest kid there, and all the coaches were like, this is a catcher. I mean, wow. He's going to Gonzaga next year. He's such a good athlete to the point where some coaches don't want him to catch because he's such a good athlete, they want him on the field. But kid loves to catch. You gotta love that in catcher, also someone who actually has position, because it is a brutal position, you know what I mean? It's tough. So my shout out goes to Hayden.
A few guys to throw in there. These guys are both pitchers, but will play catcher this year. Nate Walker goes to Carlsbad. 6'4", 185 pounds, signed with USD, throws 90 plus on the mound, also catches. So, you never know what a guy like that's going to be in college, but he's definitely playing catcher this year. And Corrando Diaz, San Ysidro, same thing, pitches, plays catcher, got an amazing swing. He's going to Texas Pan American next year, so good luck to you, bud.
To me, it's amazing when we're talking about some of these players who pitch, catch, wear multiple hats. You don't see that in a lot of other high school sports. You go to football and you'll see a guy who is specifically a quarterback, specifically a free safety. You go to basketball and he's a point guard who handles the ball, or he's a defensive center. You don't get a lot of that in other sports. In baseball, you'll get some amazing athletes who throw 90 plus on the mound, but then on their off day from pitching, they'll go play center field, run balls down, and go 3 for 4 at the plate with a stolen base. So it's really, to me, an amazing thing all across the county of the time that we're living in, where you can go see these kids day in, day out contributing in a variety of ways.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me almost of a kid who plays running back and middle linebacker, you know what I mean? Especially pitching and catching, because that's like the most intensive, two most intensive positions.
Very
think about hard on your body. But anyway, that's our show for this week. Please join us again next week. Please tweet at us at SD Prep Insider. If we missed somebody, if you disagree with anything we said, or if you agree with what we said, that'd be awesome too.
I don't think anybody agrees with what we said.
Yeah, there'll be more disagreeing than agreeing. But either way, we'll see you next week.